Okay guys, you want to start sculpting in Zbrush, right? That's your main goal. So I will show you how to do that, but first we need to clear up some things. First, when you start Zbrush, when you download it from Pixologic site, trial version for example, when you install it, and when you open it, you will see this window, most likely. And this window is this particular thing with a lot of things on it is the lightbox. You can disable and enable the lightbox from here. And when we disable lightbox, it's very scary because we have this empty canvas, which is very scary. So we enable a lightbox, and I will show you how I start always with most of my projects. I start with one of those spheres here. Dynamesh sphere 1, Dynamesh sphere 3, sphere 6, or all of them are Dynamesh spheres. It doesn't matter if you start with polysphere also, but let's start with Dynamesh sphere. It's more convenient. So I will just double click on it, the Dynamesh sphere 6 for example, and it will be here. So now this is the sphere and we will start working on it, but first I need to explain some things. So this menu here, the tool menu, will be docked on your left side. This is the right side. I mistake sometimes. So this is the right side. Here you have this tool menu. This is the most important menu, hands down. In Zbrush you have a lot of things here. I will show you in a moment. I want to quick explain how those menus here are arranged. They're arranged by alphabetic order. So file is not first. Alpha is first, then brush, color, document, draw, and so on. File is here. But file you won't need in the near future. I rarely use it. I use tool. The tool menu have everything you need. You save a tool, you load a tool, everything. So tool is like a file in, for example, Photoshop. Most of you probably are familiar with Photoshop, so I will make analogies with Photoshop. So first, the tool is like a file in Photoshop. You can have multiple tools open. I haven't tried it, but probably more than 20 tools can be opened in the same times. The same in Zbrush. In Photoshop you can open 20 files, it's not a problem. Every file in Photoshop will have its own layers, and the same here. Every tool has subtools, which is cool. So subtools can be a lot. They can be, in my most sophisticated projects, probably around 62 subtools, which is equal to 60 layers in Photoshop probably, which is a lot. You know, when you're working in Photoshop, you know that those layers can be a lot. But the thing is that you always want your subtool menu open here. In my tutorials that I do for sculpting, for anatomy, I usually use 1 or 2 subtools. So for basic sculpting, you can use only 1 or 2 subtools. It's up to you. But usually it will be like this. So you can see the tools here. So this tool is a star, you can click on it, it doesn't matter. This tool is polysphere, this tool is cylinder. We can add tools here, but now we don't need that. We need our sphere. So we click on the sphere and we saw it here. The main thing you have to learn in Zbrush is how to navigate here. And also the brushes, but the brushes are easy. So I will show you how to navigate. To navigate the Zbrush, you just need to click with your tablet. This is rotation. Click and drag, just rotation. You can do it with your mouse also. Of course, with mouse, Zbrush is not that good. You have to have a graphic tablet. But for the beginners, just to get familiar, you can use mouse, no problem. So first, drag just to rotate the object. And you can see it's rotating because of this plane. If we didn't have this plane, probably we won't see it rotating, but whatever. So the next thing, and one of the difficult things, no, this is not the difficult, I will go to the difficult part. So now press Alt and drag, and you will just scroll or just move. This is just moving the object around, and you're not moving exactly the object, you're moving the camera kind of. Since Zbrush is a little bit like 2.5D application, it's not exactly 3D, but it looks like 3D, so it's cool. The very important thing, Zbrush uses only your processor. It doesn't use your video card, so If you have a good processor like most laptops in these days, and they don't have good video cards, you can use ZBrush very successfully in laptop. So it's very, very good. Okay, so we know how to rotate, just click and drag. We know how to move the camera, which is also important, with just Alt and click and drag. But the zooming part is a little bit difficult. You can use always those buttons here. Moving is here, zooming is here, and rotating is here. The thing is that rotating in ZBrush is a little bit takes a little bit getting used to, because it's difficult. So it's Alt, click. So I'm pressing Alt on my keyboard. Then I click on the canvas. Then I don't release my mouse, but I release Alt, and then I move. So Alt, click, release Alt, and just drag. Alt, click, hold the click, release Alt, and just drag. So this is zoom in and out. This is the most difficult part for the beginners. For the beginners, of course, but probably you will get used to it at some point. You have to just go on and try. Here you will see your brush. Now we are on the standard brush, and it looks like this. You just drag on the object, and you will just make this. So every brush has two kind of things that it can do. It can add by just dragging most of the time, and it can subtract with Alt dragging. So we're making a hole, and with all the brushes you have the option to shift drag and smooth. Very important is the shift drag. Shift is smoothing with every brush. No matter what brush you select, with shift you smooth. So we have to start sculpting, right? Okay, we will, but first we need to have some brushes. So either press here, just press it, and you will open most of the brushes, you will see them here, or just press B on the keyboard, which is very intuitive because B is brush, it's normal. And now we see all these brushes. So the most used brushes are 7 or 8 brushes, and I show them in my tutorial about the speeding up your workflow in ZBrush, and I'm arranging them here and I'm giving them shortcuts, so you can do that also. But first watch this video until the end and I will show you some things. The next thing we want to do is to start sculpting is to know how to change our brushes. To change our brushes we go to B, and now for example we want the move brush. Very usual brush, move. So we are on this menu. If our mouse pointer or tablet pointer goes out of this menu, it will disappear. Most of the menus in ZBrush are this way. So we go to this menu and we don't get out of it because it will disappear. And then we stay on here and press M. So these are all the brushes that starts with M. And we find our move brush, which is V. You see this letter here, it says which brush it is. So V, or just click on it. So B, M, and then click on it, or just V, and we are on the move brush. So with the bracket keys, the same is on Photoshop. With the bracket keys, we make our brush bigger or smaller, and it will be better if we disable this dynamic mode. This is the draw size. We can also make it from here bigger or smaller. So this is the draw size of the brush, and since I want a very big brush, I will do it, and we can just make this, just drag and make it smaller like this. Okay, and this is our model. We can disable this floor thing from here, floor, and we can disable also perspective from here. Sometimes it's useful to disable perspective. I'm using only move brush now, but you notice that I will rotate, I will pan, I will rotate, I will move my object. It's very important to do that all the time. Otherwise, you will not have an idea how your model will look from different angles. I always rotate, I move. So you have to get familiar with this. It's the most important thing probably to be able to move, rotate, or pan, or zoom in and out easily. And this will be very important. To disable this dynamic mode, we just double click on it. Dynamic mode, you notice my brush is staying the same now relative to the screen. And if you enable dynamic, it will stay the same relative to the object. So when I zoom out, it will be smaller, but I don't need that. I don't use that. I use always the brushes without dynamic mode, most of them. So I'm just moving for now. In the beginning, you can make like something like head only by move brush, like you see, only move brush. If you know where to move things, you will make a decent start for the head. So next thing you have to know is how to mask and how to hide parts of the object. Masking is pretty easy with control. So with control, drag whatever on the screen, not on the object, outside the object, will do nothing but making the Dynamesh. Dynamesh I will explain probably in some other video, but for now you need to know that this dragging, let's see, yeah, it's making Dynamesh because Dynamesh is on by default with these Dynamesh spheres that we have chosen, and that's why we have chosen those Dynamesh spheres. How to go to Dynamesh is going to tool menu, of course, geometry, and then find Dynamesh here. Dynamesh is here, and it's on. It's orange, so it's on. And Dynamesh is doing this. So first, if I click here, I will see the polygons on my model, and this will be useful for our thing. So here, polygons. When I drag with my move brush, I usually stretch the polygons. And this is good, like horns. And when the polygons are too much stretched, they're making this kind of bad shapes. So I want to Dynamesh. To Dynamesh, it's you can just click on here and click again, which is not so convenient. I will Control Z. Control Z is undo, like in all programs, of course. So what can we do here is just Control. Now I'm clicking Control, and my pointer, you see, it's set mask. So I will just drag a mask outside my object and just release. Drag and release. And it has to make Dynamesh. But our Dynamesh, I think it's disabled. Yes, it's disabled, so it won't be making it. So I enable Dynamesh, and you can see it's happening. But if you don't want to press this button every time, which is, I don't ever want to press it, and I never press it. Okay, these are horns. Let's make some ears. These are the ears, and you notice that the polygons are far bigger than our normal polygons. So what we want to do here is Dynamesh, Control, drag, and nice, Control drag is when Dynamesh is on, is Dynameshing automatically, and you have this. So now I am on standard brush. You can see because yeah, my shortcuts are working, but standard brush is BS. Let's see where it is. Standard brush, BST. It's T, standard brush. Yeah, it's not very intuitive to find brushes by just bracket keys are opening and close. So it's not intuitive to find brushes like this. B, S is standard brush, okay. T, it's not very good. So probably you should watch my video about customizing your workflow in Zbrush, your user interface, and you will learn more about brushes there, and you will be able to do it better. So now we have this. How to use masks. We can mask like this parts of the object. You see, we have mask. And when we mask some area, and when we try to, for example, move BM V, which is move. When we try to move, you see, we cannot move the masked part, of course, like in Photoshop. We move only the other parts that are not masked, and I'm smoothing with Shift now. And we see something like this happens. Very easy. We have some interesting forms. So mask is for this. And then I will, of course, control and mask again to Dynamesh. And we have this, which is nice. Also, we can hide parts of the object. Very important also, how to hide parts. No, let's continue with the masks. Masking some area of the object is good, but we want, for example, to reverse the mask. How to do it? Control, click outside the object will reverse the mask. You can see I'm just holding control and clicking whatever outside the object. It doesn't matter, I always do it in this side because it's more convenient for me. So if we want to feather the mask, so the border here to be softer, we want to control click on the object itself. And then we can also reverse, control click on the object, reverse, control click on the object, and we will have this mask. But to disable the mask completely, we have mask, we don't want mask. We just control, drag, and we don't have mask. So it's cool. To get rid of the mask, because we can control and just drag on the object, and we will make a mask. We can draw with a smaller brush, just make some mask. And if we want to get rid of this mask, we just drag on, with control outside the object, and we get rid of this mask. Masking is very powerful in ZBrush, and you will want to use it mostly. For example, here I want to make eye sockets, so I make masks, I reverse the mask, and I just move them inwards like this. And then I will smooth, and I will have this kind of thing. Okay. So yeah, we can work without seeing the polygons. Sometimes I like to see them, sometimes I don't. So other thing you want to make sure you have right in ZBrush is how to save files, of course. How to save the tool, which is the file in ZBrush, is save as and save it, and then load tool, or just double click on the save tool and you will save it. Don't go to file, save as. It will save your old project, which is all those tools, and sometimes you have a lot of tools, you have a lot of things, and it can be a pretty big files, and also it's slower. So I always, even with my most sophisticated files, before I start making some materials and stuff, I always save from here, tool, save as. It's always. If your tool somehow disappears, we don't have it here, where is the tool, how to access it? You just go to tool, they are alphabetically ordered, you go to tool and just click this button here and it will dock here and you will have it again. If your model goes like this and it's out and you cannot find it and you say, what is happening? Well, I don't want to see this ZBrush anymore. You just go to frame here and the object will appear and you will just rotate it. And now I want to move it and it's here. If I want to snap my view, for example, I want exactly from the side view, I will just shift. When I'm moving, just by clicking and dragging, I press shift and it will snap to the closest view. Shift, snap. Shift, shift, shift. Okay. The other things that you probably noticed is that I have symmetry here. If you don't have symmetry in the beginning, you have to have symmetry. It's a good thing in the beginning, especially. You press X. X is symmetry. You don't have it here in the menus. You just have to know that X is symmetry. Otherwise, you go to transform, and it's where is activate symmetry, but it's not in the default user interface. But X is, you notice that now I don't have symmetry. Now I have it. I have 2 points. Now I don't have. Now I have it. I'm just pressing X on the keyboard. It's important when you start, because when you start, sometimes you won't have by default symmetry. So take this notice. Just have symmetry. Just press X and start. Always start with symmetry. If you don't start with symmetry, it will be awful. If you don't start with symmetry, you can always go and just, you know, now I'm using only move brush. But if you don't have symmetry and you have started already, and you notice now that you don't have symmetry, you can always just start all over. How? Just go to Lightbox and press Dynamesh, sphere 6 for example, or 1, whatever, and double press it, and it will ask you, would you like to save the changes of this project that you have? You will say no, for example, and you will start all over again. Then you will start with symmetry, because you will press X and you will make sure that you have symmetry. But I don't want to start over. I like this, and basically that's it. You can save from here, load here, and that's your first lesson in ZBrush. B, or clicking here, is your brushes, and you don't need anything more. That's how you start, that's how you continue, and you have to just go with the standard brush, for example, BST, standard brush. And the standard brush is very powerful brush. You can do almost everything with it. I'm now with Alt just digging here, adding here with just no Alt, just dragging, and stuff like this. And you can do almost everything with the standard brush. Of course, you can use some other brushes, but they are not subject of this tutorial, because this is for absolute beginners. Just to make sure you can start with ZBrush, always make some changes, then you can smooth with Shift. Shift is working with every brush, so just press Shift and you will smooth. For example, you have this, Shift, smooth it, make it smoother and nicer. If you want to make some better detail, of course, you can always make this more with more resolution, so you can make more detail. But for the beginners, I always recommend to use in this 64 resolution is nice for the beginners, because if you go bigger, you will probably mess up things. I always start from this resolution very low and then gradually going up. You can see my tutorials about making female head, for example, or male head, and you will notice that I always start from very low resolution. And now this model that I'm doing, that I did only with standard and move brush, you can do this. Of course, you have to have a tablet. Without tablet, it will be difficult. But still, it's you don't need a lot of brushes to start. Move brush is one of the most important brushes, and standard brush, of course, is the second most important brush. Of course, the smooth brush, when you just you notice here I'm on standard brush. Now I press Shift, I go to smooth brush. Now I press Control, and I'll go to mask brush. And you can, when you are holding Control, you can change your mask brush, but this is something else. And Control Shift is making this. You can hide parts of the object, and then you can do some things with them. It's very powerful tool, but I will talk about it in other video. For now, all you need to know is what I've shown you, and other things will go from there. You can watch some other tutorials or mine tutorials, and you will notice how to do things. For now, bye and take care. I hope that I've made ZBrush a little bit more clearer for you. I haven't gone into much detail on many subtools or many menus, but you don't need them for now. You need only what I've shown you. Very simple. And for the beginning, I think simple is better. So bye for now, and hopefully ZBrush will just take your... You can take your imagination and just do ZBrush. Bye.